Welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Tracy Alexander. And coming up in today's newscast, is Israel on the right track as it opens train lines and entertainment venues with the number of COVID-19 cases on the rise? Don't even think about it. Israel stops maritime smugglers trying to bring weapons to Gaza. And female fighters, we get up close and personal with the women who serve in Israel's border police. The number of cases are going up and the places that they're coming from are being found higher up too. In Israel's northern city of Haifa, a place that's been relatively COVID-19 free, is worryingly seeing a spike in the number of confirmed cases. A report from the Corona National Information and Knowledge Centre showing the number of carriers has risen from 15 to 64, bringing its infection rate considerably higher than the national average. So as once unaffected areas become places of focus, what now? Aaron Porras has more.
Forget the coronavirus, the show must go on. Giving in to demands from artists and entertainers, leading Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is announcing the reopening of cultural and entertainment venues for events with up to 250 attendees. Though the Culture Minister, Hili Troper, is pushing for up to 500 people, and this including weddings and other religious ceremonies.
לשמור אתכם, אני מאוד רוצה לעזור לכם. אני יודע שיש מצוקה, אנחנו רוצים לטפל במצוקה, ולכן ביקשתי גם משר האוצר שיצטרף אלינו, ונשמע את הדברים, ונעזור כמיטב יכולתנו.
Meanwhile, train services will also restart operations as soon as next week, as requested by Finance Minister and former Transportation Minister Israel Katz. But the Health Ministry is warning that if the public cannot be disciplined in following the Health Ministry's guidelines on that same day, the ministry will close the trains and cultural institutions. Worrying numbers in mind, though, these announcements come in spite of yet another dangerous rise of infections in Israel. The daily spread on Wednesday hitting 257 and raising the total active infections back to well over 4,000 for the first time in weeks. The death toll holding at 303. As for the neighboring Palestinian Authority, PA Health Ministry officials also issuing stark warnings about a potential second wave, with 46 new confirmed infections overnight Wednesday, the highest single-day rise in the PA since restrictions were loosened late last month.
And another enormous stride forward in the fight against the coronavirus made by an Israeli company. Kumada, a NASDAQ and Tel Aviv listed biopharmaceutical company, the first in the world to complete manufacturing an antibody treatment for COVID-19 using the plasma-derived immunoglobulin G. And CEO of Kumada, Amir London, joins me now. Amir, great to have you with us. I hope I didn't butcher that word. I'm not a scientist. This is, of course, huge, though. It's a global first, I believe. Why is this treatment so significant? Tell us.
Okay, good afternoon, good morning. Thank you for having me. Yes, that's a very important achievement for Kumada and for, I think, the plasma industry in general. So what we have announced yesterday is that we were able to complete the first batch of an anti-corona immunoglobulin, which is basically a plasma-derived antibodies, which is being manufactured using plasma from convalescent patients who have recovered from the disease, donated plasma, and we have an FDA-approved technology which allows us to basically purify the specific antibody, specific immunoglobulin from that plasma, from the recovered patients, make a pharmaceutical product out of this, and give it to patients that are sick.
And how does, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but how does the antibody treatment actually fight COVID-19?
Okay, so the concept has been existing for many, many years. You know, when you give specific antibodies against a specific virus, you expect those antibodies to be fighting the virus. And we have an FDA-approved product, an anti-rabies product. There are many other antibodies which are manufactured based on plasma, convalescent plasma from patients that recover from a disease. So we have been using our approved technology, our experience, 30 years of experience, in order to develop that product. We started soon after the corona kind of broke into our life late February. It took us a few months to develop the product, to be able to manufacture it. And as I said yesterday, we announced that the first batch of the product is available for treatment.
Wow.
We're starting with what's called compassionate use treatment. It's starting in Israel. We also be using it for clinical trials for less severe patients. So we're the first in the world, and Israel is now benefiting from that by being the first country in the world to have this treatment available for its severely ill patients.
That's incredible. And very, very briefly before you go, of course, every day in Israel, we're seeing new treatments that are moving forward in research for production. How close are we, in your opinion, to defeating the coronavirus?
Well, I think that kind of a full defeat, a full win will be only after a vaccine will be available. And of course, if you're looking at the entire world, you need to be able to make 7 billion units of that vaccine.
Right.
So it takes some time. I think that we need to learn how to live with the COVID for the next maybe 2 years. And companies like Kumada, I think, make it a little bit easier.
Right.
Of bridging
Israel as a whole seems to be really contributing to the fight against it, and we really appreciate the work that you're doing for all of us and for being with us here on ILTV. Thank you, Amir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Now, Israel has stopped multiple attempts to smuggle military gear and weapons to the Gaza Strip over the years, both from the sea and via shipments entering the Palestinian territory. Now it's been revealed that amid startling quiet along the Israel-Gaza border, attempts to stockpile weapons have been thwarted with another maritime interception made by Israeli forces. Nittany Manson reports.
Remaining ever vigilant, Israeli naval forces preventing a shipment of weapons from reaching the Hamas terror group in Gaza. The interception from several weeks ago only now released for publication. The two terrorist smugglers have been arrested.
כריות השליטה הימית הכווינו את לוחמי הזירה אל עבר כלי השיט החשוד בהברחה. לאחר מרדף קצר נעצר כלי השיט כשעליו שני פעילי טרור. במהלך חקירת שני פעילי הטרור התגלה כי הם התכוונו להבריח אמצעי לחימה אשר נועדו לשמש את הקומנדו הימי של החמאס. אחד מהם הוא מבריח בכיר אשר עבד עם מספר ארגוני טרור.
That senior smuggler, identified as Mahmoud Bakir, has been indicted and faces charges in the Beersheba District Court. Colonel Gutman describing Bakir's arrest as a major operational achievement for the state of Israel, as well as a severe blow to the Hamas Naval Commando Unit. But neither the second smuggler's identity nor the types of weapons seized have been released to the public. The operation was carried out by joint intelligence efforts of the Israeli Naval Forces, the Shin Bet Security Services, and the military intelligence.
כוחות זרוע הים משקיעים מאמצים רבים, מבצעים ומודיעיניים, וזאת על מנת למנוע את התחמשות כוחות החמאס ברצועת עזה.
You'll remember that last week we took you on patrol with Jerusalem Border Police, a unit renowned for its inclusion of soldiers from minority backgrounds in Israel. But perhaps one thing you didn't know is that a significant chunk of the troop is made up of a group that won't let gender stand in the way of helping Israel on the front lines. A sight you'll see around almost every corner in the old city of Jerusalem, heavily armed police. These are the first responders to any terrorist attack in the holy city. Perhaps most astounding is that it's women that make up some 30% of this almost 9,000 strong troop. And today we're going to meet one such officer who's around the same size as me, but with one big difference. She's expertly trained at an elite level, and she's going to give us some insight into the daily duties of a Jerusalem Border Police Guard. This is Shoshana. At 19 years old, she left her home in Florida to enlist in the Israeli military. Brandishing an M16 rifle and kitted out with heavy body armour, Shoshana's duties are the same as her male counterparts.
You see a lot of times in jobs, there's a difference with men and women. But here, I feel equal. Like I really do feel as an equal, and it's interesting to be treated the same and have the same responsibilities and the same jobs, and it's really cool, honestly. Wow.
It's a job fraught with danger, guarding three of the world's holiest sites in an area so sensitive amidst a tense political backdrop. The Jerusalem district is inundated with terror attacks.
But you're not only there to thwart potential terror attacks, but sometimes you're often the target. How does that make you feel?
It can definitely be scary sometimes, but I do have confidence in myself and like what I been through with training and everything. So I do believe that I can take care of any situation if I'm in it.
We make our way through East Jerusalem, an area at the centre of political discourse, as Palestinian leadership seek this as the capital of a future Palestinian state. It's here Shoshana tells me why she left her home in America to become a police officer in Israel.
I love this country. You know, when you love something, you don't just say you love it, but you have to do something for it as well. When I heard about Magav border police, I found it very interesting to work. We're not on the borders and waiting for war to happen, but we're really inside and we're really doing things every day.
We enter a neighbourhood called Atur, where border police patrol daily, looking for potential suspects attempting to make their way to the old city, or as Shoshana explains, to disperse riots.
If you get hit with a block, I guess you just keep running and you try to catch the person also. Every situation's different, you know. Rocks, you just keep running. Molotov cocktails, you keep running, you try to catch the person who did it, because clearly it's not something that's allowed to happen, so that would usually cause for an arrest.
But today we're being taken to a lookout, sitting atop a police station, which gives them a bird's eye view of the entire 125 square mile spread of the ancient city and its surrounds.
So this is quite the vantage point. Talk me through the significance of this area.
So this is definitely a viewpoint over pretty much all of Jerusalem that you can see.
From this position, communication is vital to share information about suspicious activity around the holy sites with the boots on the ground.
We have our combat female and male soldiers, police officers pretty much scattered all around Jerusalem protecting this city.
From up on high, Shoshana shares with me her experiences patrolling an Arab village called Ras Al Amud, inside of which is a Jewish neighborhood.
A lot of times you have riders who come and they throw, whether it's Molotov cocktails or rocks or whatever it is, you have a lot of people, they try to throw things into the Jewish neighborhood to danger their lives or their homes.
Shoshana opening up about the real challenges of being a female border guard.
If I have to do an arrest, it's not always easy, you know. A lot of times the person's bigger than me or even stronger than me and they're trying to get away. So yeah, it's definitely happened.
Making our way back to base, Shoshana opens up further.
I obviously do believe that maybe like men are built stronger and like that's fine and like that's just like another way that women, like we have to push ourselves.
You have to be a particular kind of brave though to be really on the front lines. You're the first responders to terrorist attacks. How do you mentally prepare for something like that?
I don't know if you can ever be fully prepared for something. That's the thing. Like you get put in this situation and you just have to act however you think that it's appropriate to act.
Yeah.
In a city that houses some of the world's holiest sites, security has many faces.
While they're not here right now, you can also find female border police guards protecting the entrance to the Holy Al-Aqsa Mosque. But as you can see right now, they also have another specific job, which is ensuring that non-Muslims don't enter the holy site outside of specifically allotted times.
And even in the alleyways that appear to be empty, Magav is aided by technology, and backup is never far away. Tracy Alexander, ILTV, Jerusalem.
Now, humidity can be one of those things that saps our energy. But what if I told you that it's now being used to achieve the exact opposite, to produce power? A team of researchers from Tel Aviv University have found that humidity can help to charge batteries. And to understand how, joining me in the studio is Professor Colin Price from Tel Aviv University. Professor, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
So we've seen Israeli researchers in the past produce water out of air, which seems like, you know, an understandable jump, but now we're seeing power being made out of air. Tell us how.
Well, I've been working with lightning and thunderstorms for the last 30 years or so, and I think everyone knows that lightning is electricity. Mm-hmm. But to produce lightning, you have various processes in the cloud which just involves water. Mm-hmm. Water in its different phases, ice, liquid droplets, and gas, water vapor. Somehow that produces this huge amount of electricity which gives us lightning. So we're trying to bring this to the lab to use the same physics that is producing lightning to produce electricity in the lab. Instead of ice, we're using metal surfaces, but the same physics to charge metal surfaces into a small battery which is run on humidity.
Wow, because lightning is, of course, very powerful. So what are you using in the labs to do this then?
So we're actually not trying to reproduce the lightning itself, but how the charging is actually occurring in the clouds. Wow. Now, the clouds are huge. They're kilometers cubed, and we can't produce that in the lab. So we're taking just a few liters of air, but still, on a small scale, we've managed to get up to 1 volt, like a AA battery, just based on humidity.
That's incredible. And so how soon could we we be recharging our batteries using this method?
Well, we're right at the beginning. I said it'll take us a number of years, maybe even a decade. But the idea is that in many countries, tropical countries, say where the humidity is always high throughout the year, and some places don't have electricity, maybe this can be a possible way to turn on a light at night or to charge your phone, something small.
How did you get into a field like this, using thunder and lightning?
Well, I've been interested in nature and the force of nature for decades. I suppose one of my professors introduced me to lightning and electricity, and that took me to one direction. We actually started by looking at forest fires, and in Canada and the US, these are ignited a lot by lightning.
Wow.
Eventually, we started studying lightning, and we never really got to the fires. So I've remained with lightning for the last 30 years.
That's incredible. It's a really exciting thing that I suppose we can now use this information and predict if we're going to see thunder and lightning during the day, if we're feeling a bit of humidity in the air.
Well, not exactly, but when we're talking about climate change, we're looking for alternatives, renewable energies, and this could be a new way of reducing the use of fossil fuels and maybe a new renewable energy source.
Natural resources, always the answer.
And look at nature always for examples.
Absolutely with you. Professor Price, thank you for that insight.
You're welcome.
Now, Israel might be tiny geographically, but in almost every inch of sand, there's a story. And we see it often when building new sites in the country because first the ground needs to be cleared, and it's often that something remarkable is uncovered in the process. Now, this story is incredible. About 2 weeks ago, workers building a new road near Kibbutz Hanaton in the Lower Galilee stumbled upon an amazing discovery from ancient times. And one of the residents from that kibbutz happens to be an Israeli tour guide and archaeology enthusiast, and Anat Harel joins us from the exact spot where the discovery was made. Anat, tell us, what did the workers find?
Hi. So what happened is that we have to build a new bridge, and they're moving the highway over. And so when they started to move the highway over, they realized that they were discovering some kind of an agricultural farm. And as they excavated only about 2 to 3 weeks ago, they came upon an amazing discovery. They found a mikveh, which is a ritual immersion pool. And as they were excavating, they discovered that the plaster in the mikveh was the same plaster that was used in Second Temple times. At Second Temple times, we're talking before the destruction of the Second Temple. We are talking 2,000 years ago. And this makes this particular immersion pool amazing.
And how can you tell that it's from the Second Temple period? Show us a bit of the mikveh, because you're standing right there. Let's have a look at it.
Yes. So what happens is what we see here is an agricultural farm. We thought it was from Byzantine times, but as they excavated lower and lower, they realized that this was also from early Roman times. And do you see the mikveh?
I
right
can.
There?
Wow, it's incredible.
Yeah, and so what a mikveh is, it's an immersion pool, and you see the steps. There are steps going down, and apparently this was a mikveh for the farmers that worked either in the olive oil industry or the wine industry. And the reason they know it is from Second Temple times is because the plaster on the walls of the mikveh has a gray color to it, which is exactly what Second Temple time ritual baths were made of. The plaster was gray. Later on in Byzantine times, apparently the plaster improved and it was white instead of gray. And that's how the archaeologists know that it is from before the destruction of the Second Temple.
And so, Anat, I understand, of course, it's an amazing discovery, and you live in the kibbutz right near where it was found. I understand that you wanted to get a replica of the mikveh made, but you were actually surprised to get something else. What was that?
Well, okay, so I live in Kibbutz Hanaton, which is only like half a mile away. When the Antiquities Authority found this mikveh, they actually invited all the public to come. They had several tours around here. And when the archaeologist explained that this is a mikveh from Second Temple times, we got really excited because I am on the mikveh committee in my kibbutz. And we said to the archaeologist, hey, why don't we make a replica of this 2,000-year-old mikveh and put it right next to our brand new mikveh? And he said, why build a replica? Why don't we raise money and excavate this mikveh out, and we'll transplant the whole real 2,000-year-old mikveh and put it in your kibbutz.
That is incredible. And very briefly, before we have to let you go, I understand this has become quite the cross-cultural production. Tell us a little bit about that.
So what's another thing that's amazing is that in the Antiquities Authority, many of the archaeologists are Israeli Arabs. The archaeologist who found this Jewish mikveh is an Israeli Arab archaeologist, and these archaeologists that told me let's transplant it is also an Israeli Arab archaeologist trying to save a Jewish mikveh. That's the kind of coexistence we have in the Galilee. That's why I love living here.
That is beautiful, and I share in your enthusiasm, Anat. Thank you so much for taking us right to the site that it was found just 2 weeks ago. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Now, finding quality and affordable real estate in the Holy Land has been a problem for years. And with the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, the market has practically gone completely wild. So what can you expect if you're looking to invest in an apartment or Israeli plot of land? Well, joining us with all of those answers is owner and founder of Skyview Real Estate, Eyal Katz. Eyal, a pleasure to have you with us.
Hi, Tracy. Pleasure being here.
Now, when the coronavirus hit, we know the nation and the rest of the world went into lockdown, but there were some industries that were classified as essential workers and essential industries. The construction industry, the real estate industry was one of them. So how did that impact the market here, if at all?
I can tell you that market is good. Prices are stable. If we compare this period to the corresponding period last year, we can see that prices increased. If we take, for example, Haifa, we can see that prices went up 0.3%. If we take Ramat HaSharon, we can see 0.1%. If we'll take Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, they went up between 4 to 6% increase. So for now, we cannot see a change on COVID-19. We cannot see an effect on COVID-19 on the prices.
That's incredible. So if you're living overseas and you're interested in buying and investing in Israel, what kind of tips can you give those people?
First tip I tell customers, look at the land registrations. In Israel, you have like 5 different land registrations. On some of them, you cannot get a mortgage. So it's a shame doing all the process, coming to the end, and then realizing you cannot get a mortgage, and then you wasted your time. Nobody likes to waste their time.
No.
Second tip, look at the tax property form. If the owner tells you the property is 100 meters, look at the tax property form. You're supposed to see how many meters the property is. Most of the municipalities in Israel have the meters written on that form. Tip number 3, check how old is the building and if it needs a renovation. If it does need a renovation, how much is that renovation going to cost? Tip number 4, look if the tram is going to pass on the street of your flat, and if not on your street, on the street next to you. Some of the customers prefer to see the tram, to have the tram next to their house, and some of the customers won't prefer it. So look that up also. Ask the owner to send you a 360 virtual tour. So then you can sit at home and walk through the flat without being there.
Right. And we're very lucky to have technology for that, right?
Yeah,
we can do that these days.
And if you're not familiar with one of the tips I said, get yourself a good real estate agency. They will do all that for you, including bargaining and getting you the right price of the flat.
That's so good, so that you can buy something. You don't even have to come during these lockdown periods or while the borders are closed.
That's right.
Incredible. Eyal Katz, thank you so much for that insight.
Thank you for having me.
Well, there you go. And on that note, let's take a look at the weather forecast. This is a forecast for our Aaron Porras and Nittany Manson. They're going to like this. Partly cloudy and rain for the weekend. In fact, even our deputy editor, Esty, is looking forward to this weather. A low of 72 degrees Fahrenheit tonight. That's 22 degrees Celsius. And tomorrow, it's a high of 80 degrees Fahrenheit, but cloudy. That's 27 degrees Celsius. And rain for Saturday with the same high. And now, before we go, let's take a look at what's going viral in Israel. That is one way to amplify your music. I might do that next time if I could play the saxophone like that. All right, well, that is it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.45 shekels to the American dollar. For more news from ILTV, please like ILTV on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube and Roku TV pages. I'm Tracy Alexander, and thank you so much for watching.